What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to the Versus series. This is the series where I take two similar elements from Black Ops 4, I put them side by side, have a look at their stats to find out which one is better. In today's episode, we're actually going to be crossing the lines of the different weapon types, and we're going to be covering the ICR versus the GKS. Now, it might sound strange to compare an assault rifle to an SMG, but in both of these cases, these are designed to be the super accurate, more designed for long range sort of weapons, and in a lot of ways, they're actually very similar. So let's start off with the number of shots it takes to kill. With the ICR, it's going to be a 5 to 6 shot kill, whereas with the GKS, it's going to be a 5 to 8 shot kill. One thing we'll get into a bit with the ranges though, is that 8 shot kill is something you don't generally have to worry about with the GKS. As for rate of fire, on the ICR, it's 600 rounds per minute, whereas the GKS is a little bit faster at 645 rounds per minute, so that makes the GKS also a little bit more forgiving if you miss a shot. This means our statistical minimum time to kill with the ICR is going to be 400 milliseconds in the 5-shot kill range, and it'll drop off to 500 milliseconds in that 6-shot kill range. With the GKS, we do get a faster time to kill in the 5-shot kill range, but keep in mind it's going to be a much shorter range in the ICR at 372 milliseconds, and then by the time you get all the way out to the 8-shot kill range, it would be 651 milliseconds. So now let's hop into the ranges, and as you can see here, like I said, the ICR has a very significantly better 5-shot kill range than the GKS. The GKS's 5-shot kill range really only applies to super close range situations. And as a result, when you look at the map design as well as generally how you would play with these guns, most of the time with the ICR you will be within the 5-shot kill range, and more often than not you'll be in the 6-shot kill range with the GKS, and in that case the ICR does statistically kill faster at 400 milliseconds, whereas the GKS is 465 milliseconds. So just looking at these range values, you can see that the ICR definitely has better raw killing potential, assuming you have perfect accuracy, and this is of course ignoring a lot of other factors that we're going to be looking at. One of those factors is hipfire. As you can see here, the ICR is an assault rifle, GKS is an SMG, and therefore it's no surprise that the GKS does have a little bit of a better hipfire spread than the ICR. As for accuracy, both of these guns are very accurate. Like I said, they are designed to be the accurate guns of their classes, but quite surprisingly, the GKS is noticeably more accurate than the ICR, even without attachments. And with both of these, also, one thing that makes them very similar is we do have the ability to use the Grip 2 attachments, and when you're doing that, it makes both of these guns pretty much pinpoint accurate, plus one of the biggest upsides to using Grip 2 is it practically eliminates flinch. Moving on to our handling and mobility stats, for our aim down sight time on the ICR, it's 300 milliseconds, which is pretty slow, although with quick draw we can cut that down to 260 milliseconds. With the GKS on the other hand, being an SMG, our base aim down sight time is much faster than even our quick draw aim down sight time with the ICR at 220 milliseconds, and you can take that one step further up to 150 milliseconds if you use the quick draw attachment on the GKS. This is actually a really big factor if you're talking about being mobile with these two guns, because assuming these guns run into each other at the same time and they aren't already aimed down sight, the GKS is going to be aimed down sight and hitting their shots before the ICR, and therefore in that specific situation, the GKS will gain the advantage when it comes to practical time to kill. As for our sprint out time, we see a similar story here. Obviously, the SMG is going to be faster at 250 milliseconds, whereas the ICR is 300 milliseconds. Our movement speed also faster with the GKS at 100%, whereas the ICR is 95%. And finally, this is another really big factor in a gunfight. With the ICR, our aim down sight stray speed is only 40%, and we have no option to increase that with like a stock attachment, for instance. Whereas the GKS has literally double the aim down sight stray speed, which is huge in a gunfight. By strafing in gunfights, it not only helps you activate your aim assist rotation, it also helps you avoid shots, and that's a big deal when it comes to gunfights in Black Ops 4, and this is actually a really big leg up that the GKS gets in this particular area. Moving on to our magazine capacity, the ICR has a 35-round magazine, whereas the GKS has a 38-round magazine. Not really a massive difference by any means, I'd say they're pretty much equal when you do that. However, on the GKS, we do have the ability to use extended mag, which will pump that all the way up to 56 rounds, which is really good. When it comes to our total starting ammo, assuming we're not using attachments, we get 105 rounds with the ICR and 114 with the GKS. And our reload add times are nearly identical. The ICR is 1.3 seconds, and the GKS is 1.32 seconds. So those are all of the important stats when looking at these two guns, and as you can see, there is definitely a trend there. While the ICR technically has better raw killing power, assuming perfect accuracy and assuming you're already aimed down sight, the GKS gains a ton of other benefits. I would say the GKS is better in practically every other category aside from damage and range. It's more forgiving if you miss shots because it has a slightly faster fire rate. It's got better accuracy, better hip fire, better mobility, better handling. And therefore, just looking at these stats before we get into attachments, the GKS is looking to be a much more versatile sort of a weapon compared to the ICR. But speaking of attachments, let's hop into them, and we actually see quite a few similarities here. Obviously, with both of these, we have access to the double grip attachment, which is huge, and it's one of the reasons that these guns are so comparable as well. Also, like we saw, both of them have access to the quick draw attachment, which is great, although I would say that it's not necessary on the GKS, whereas with the ICR, I definitely don't like creating classes without that quick draw attachment. One benefit the ICR gets in the attachment department is it has FMJ, whereas the GKS doesn't, and this is mainly going to help you in hardcore, where you tend to see more armored users, and therefore you'll get fewer hit markers while using FMJ on the ICR, and if you're using the GKS and you run into an armor user, it will take you an extra shot to kill. Having said that, on the other side, the GKS has access to a suppressor, which can be nice if you're going for that stealth playstyle. And of course, that extended mag attachment can also be excellent on the GKS because it gives you basically an LMG level magazine capacity, and also it boosts your total starting ammo by quite a bit, which means you have less of a reliance on scavenger on your class. So overall, when looking at attachments, I'm actually going to say that the GKS comes out on top in this area. And with that, it's time to look at these guns overall, and you could probably already tell which gun I'm leaning towards as we're going through this. That's the GKS. Now previously, I wouldn't have said the GKS before the hit scan update, because at longer ranges, the GKS didn't do as well because it took longer for the bullet to arrive, and therefore you'd often be missing shots, especially against enemies that were strafing a lot in gunfights. You would miss a lot of shots with the GKS at longer ranges, and that made it so it wasn't really all that viable, even though it was designed to excel in those ranges. Now that the GKS is a hit scan weapon, this is actually, in my opinion, the best long-range, accurate, full auto gun in the game. If we're looking at longer range engagements, it's very weird to say this, but I would take the GKS over the ICR. Like I've already said, even though you don't have that raw killing power and that raw time to kill advantage, what you lose in that, you easily make up for in accuracy, mobility, aim down sight strafe speed, handling, and the potential to have an LMG-like magazine capacity. But of course, that's just my opinion on this based on the stats, and also based on my experience with both of these weapons. I have seen a lot of people still saying that the GKS is super underpowered and needs a buff. I have a feeling that's coming from people that haven't used it lately. Definitely, if you guys haven't used the GKS in a while, try it out again, make sure you have both of the grip attachments on, and as long as you're hanging back and keeping yourself at a distance, you're probably going to have a very good time with it. But of course, that's just my opinion. Let me know yours in the comment section below, and if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes to the Versus series, as always, I will leave that linked in the description down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.